Have you ever watched someone lose everything they worked for, only to discover they were never truly powerless? On one rainy Monday morning, a hardworking single father was publicly fired in front of his coworkers. They laughed as he packed his old toolbox into a worn-out pickup truck. But what no one knew was that one phone call made just minutes later would change every life inside that garage forever. Before we begin, welcome to Enlightened Story. If stories about kindness, second chances, and unforgettable life lessons touch your heart, please subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps us share more inspiring stories every week. Jonathan Reyes was 33 years old and had spent nearly 12 years fixing cars. Every morning before sunrise, he made breakfast for his 8-year-old daughter, Grace, braided her hair as best as he could, and dropped her off at school before heading to work. Life hadn't been easy since his wife passed away 3 years earlier, but Jonathan never complained. He believed that if he treated people with respect, life would eventually return that kindness. His workplace was a busy auto repair shop owned by a large company. The employees worked hard, but lately the atmosphere had changed after a new regional manager took over. Her name was Karen Whitfield. Karen was 32 years old, ambitious, intelligent, and determined to prove herself. She believed emotions had no place in business. Numbers mattered, profits mattered, everything else was secondary. She rarely smiled. Jonathan continued doing what he always did. He helped younger mechanics without expecting credit. He stayed late to finish repairs for customers who couldn't afford another day without their vehicles. Sometimes he even fixed small problems for elderly customers without charging them. His coworkers respected him. Karen did not. She saw Jonathan's kindness as weakness. One morning, an elderly woman came into the shop crying because her car wouldn't start. She explained she needed it to visit her husband in the hospital but couldn't afford the repair. Without hesitation, Jonathan repaired the battery connection during his lunch break. Took less than 15 minutes. He refused to accept a single dollar. The woman hugged him with tears in her eyes. Unfortunately, Karen saw the entire interaction. She stormed across the garage. "Who authorized free repairs?" she demanded. Jonathan calmly replied, "She needed help. It barely cost the company anything." Karen crossed her arms. "That's not your decision." The next morning, Jonathan was called into the office. Several employees watched through the glass windows. Karen placed termination papers on the desk. "You violated company policy. Effective immediately, you're fired." Jonathan looked down quietly. "What about my daughter?" he softly asked. "That's your personal problem." Those words echoed through the silent room. Jonathan nodded without arguing. He packed his toolbox. Some coworkers wanted to defend him, but they feared losing their own jobs. Outside, Jonathan loaded his tools into his old pickup truck. Before leaving, he made a phone call. His words were calm. "Good morning. This is Jonathan Reyes. Could you ask Miss Blake if she's available? Tell her it's urgent." Less than 20 minutes later, a sleek black SUV pulled into the parking lot. Everyone inside the repair shop stopped working. A confident woman stepped out wearing a simple navy business suit. She wasn't just another customer. She was Eleanor Blake, 34 years old. Eleanor was the CEO of the national automotive company that owned hundreds of repair shops across the country. She had built a reputation for leading with both intelligence and compassion. Karen hurried outside with a forced smile. "Miss Blake, if we'd known you were visiting." Eleanor ignored her. Instead, she walked directly toward Jonathan. She smiled warmly. "Jonathan, it's good to see you again." Karen looked confused. "You know each other?" Eleanor nodded. "Very well." She turned toward everyone gathered outside. 3 years ago, my car broke down on a snowy highway after an important meeting." She looked at Jonathan. "Every repair shop was closing. Jonathan stayed 2 extra hours just to help me." Jonathan smiled awkwardly. "I was only doing my job." Eleanor shook her head. "No, you were doing much more." She continued. "I offered him $500. He refused. I later discovered he had skipped dinner that evening because he needed every dollar for his daughter." The parking lot became completely silent. Eleanor looked directly at Karen. "That moment reminded me what leadership should look like." She reached into her purse and removed a small business card. "I gave Jonathan my personal number and told him that if he was ever treated unfairly, he should call me." Karen's face turned pale. Eleanor took a slow breath. "I received that call today." She walked inside the shop. After reviewing security footage, customer reviews, employee reports, and recent management decisions, she gathered everyone together. Then she spoke firmly. "A company can recover from losing money, cannot recover from losing its values." She looked at Karen. "You fired the one employee who represented everything this company stands for." Karen tried explaining herself. "I followed policy." Eleanor answered calmly. "Policy Policies exist to support people. They never exist to punish kindness. Then came the sentence no one expected. Fire every one of them. Everyone gasped. Eleanor continued. Every manager who approved this culture of fear. Every supervisor who ignored bullying. Every leader who forgot that people come before profits is relieved of duty, effective immediately. The mechanics stood frozen. Several employees quietly wiped tears from their eyes. Eleanor turned toward Jonathan. I have another offer. Jonathan looked surprised. I'd like you to become director of employee development. He blinked. I'm just a mechanic. Eleanor smiled. No, you're someone people naturally trust. I can teach management. I can't teach character. Jonathan accepted the position. His first request surprised everyone. Can Karen stay? Eleanor looked shocked. Jonathan continued softly. Not as manager, but give her another chance to learn. I don't want revenge. I want change. Karen couldn't hold back her tears. For the first time in years, she apologized, not because she had lost her position, but because she finally understood what kindness looked like. Months later, the company became known nationwide for treating both employees and customers with respect. Employee satisfaction reached record highs. Customers returned because they felt valued, not pressured. And every Friday afternoon, Jonathan still spent an hour in the garage helping young mechanics learn their trade. Not because he had to, but because kindness had always been his greatest skill. Grace often visited after school and proudly watched her father encourage others with the same gentle heart she saw every morning at breakfast. Jonathan never forgot the day he lost his job, because losing that job led him to the purpose he had been meant for all along. Sometimes kindness doesn't make life easier right away. Sometimes it costs you something. But true kindness has a way of finding its way back when you least expect it. If this story reminded you that compassion is never a weakness, remember this simple truth. The strongest people are often the kindest. One act of kindness can change a workplace, a family, or even an entire company. Never let the world convince you that doing the right thing isn't worth it. Keep choosing kindness. Keep believing in people. If you enjoyed this story, hit like, subscribe to Enlightened Story, and drop a comment below telling us what this story meant to you. Your support helps this channel keep bringing these stories to life, so don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment before you go.